Strength, and hope with us for the next 20 minutes. Our speakers are men who have at least 6 months of current abstinence. Everyone except for the speakers should mute themselves now so we don't have any background noise. And tonight we have our speaker who is J.W. Welcome. And Jay, after 15 minutes, our timer, who is Dave S., who he'll give you a 5-minute buzzer warning, and then 20 minutes he'll give you another buzzer warning. Well, to you.
Thanks. Can you hear me? Yeah, okay, good. I'm having some issues with my internet service, so if I go dead during the talk, it will not be because I don't like you, it will be because the internet failed. We've been having some issues with that. But hopefully, I told my wife that I would tell you ahead of time. She said, what will happen if it goes dead during the talk? I said, well, I'll let them know so they won't be offended. So anyway, it's a great privilege to speak tonight. I've known Al for a number of years, and I have spoken when this meeting, I think it was the same meeting. Al, you can correct me. At one time, this meeting was just on the phone. And yes, I see you shaking your head. And I spoke at that meeting, I don't know, maybe 8-10 years ago. It's been a while. Interestingly enough, looking back, I think 8 years ago, I thought I knew a lot. And today I know so very little. So anyway, I don't want to offend anybody. I may mention food if that's an issue for you, specific foods. You can come back after I'm done speaking and share on what you're comfortable with. I do not want to have anybody go into a binge. I came to 12-step recovery when I was 31 years old in 1975. And in the process of telling my AA story, I was maybe 6-8 months sober. I happened to mention in the story that I had gone on periodic diets, and after the meeting, this young gal came up and said, "Do you know about Overeaters Anonymous?" And I'd never heard of it, and certainly wasn't interested in anything that you all had to say at that point. So I said, oh, yeah, I did find out that there was such a thing as Overeaters Anonymous. And I got sober in Atlanta, Georgia. It was a big town, had strong AA, also had very strong OA at the time, and still does. And so after about a year of sobriety, I decided, well, I was cleaning up my act. I had one of my AA sponsors, he was in the process of quitting smoking, so he gave me the idea, and I quit smoking. And then my weight really took off. I mean, I was heavy before, and then I really ballooned. And so I came in to my first OA meeting, very first one, in 1977, January. In fact, I came in on January 19th. I didn't know it was OA's birthday at the time, but OA was having their 17th birthday when I came to my first meeting. And now I know that's a fact, and I didn't connect all those at that time. And of course I thought, you had a great plan. In those days, OA was Wild West. We had the book. None of our books had been published in 1977. The Brown book didn't get published until 1980. 12 and 12 didn't get published until 1990. So a lot of things weren't published. We used pamphlets. We used a lot the big book. And we referred to a lot of things to bigger. We even had AA speakers sometimes at OA meetings. We were really flying blind. But we did have something that some of you have heard of, is the gray sheet, which was that we had 3 suggested food plans. And one was the gray sheet. That was supposed to be for losing weight. One was the blue sheet. And I think they had an orange sheet. I don't remember exactly what the other 2 were for. But I said, oh, you have a great diet. And so I went on the gray sheet food plan, lost a lot of weight. I came into OA at that time. I look back, I weighed like 192 when I came into OA the first time. And that's a lot of weight on a 5'5" guy. I'm small. And so it's a lot of weight. I was chubby, definitely, and definitely needed to lose weight. And the weight came off easily. I was in my 30s, and it came off pretty easily. And I thought, well, I don't need your steps. I've got this great diet, and I got the AA program for steps, and that's what I'm going to do. And so that was it. I had this huge head. I didn't do anything with my ego, anything at all. And so I just went on my merry way. I stayed in that. I did abstain and kept my weight off for about 5-6 years. Got married, remarried at that time, and moved to another town. Lost contact with my OA buds. They didn't do it right in Miami, where I moved to Miami, and they didn't do it right. And you know the story. You've heard the story. How many times have you heard this from guys? I stopped going to meetings. And sure enough, sooner or later, I started eating crazy. It didn't come all at once. I got heavier. Not immediately, didn't go back to 190 pounds. And so I thought, well, OA was nice, but I've got this thing. I'm still doing this okay. And I lived like that for maybe 10 years. And gradually lost bit by kept getting heavier and heavier. Long story short, I came back to OA. I ended up coming back. I gained all of the weight back and ended up coming back to OA at over 200 pounds. This time I was over 200 pounds, still packed on the same little 5'5" frame. I had about a 44-inch waist when I came back to OA. I was a heart attack or stroke waiting to happen. And I came back, I was 57 years old, so I was not a kid. I've been blessed beyond my wildest imagination. I came back in 2001, February 16th, because I'm a tax preparer, and a CPA and a tax preparer. And so when tax season is over, I started this project. I'm going to go back to OA. So I came back April 16th, 2001, and that's my current abstinence date. And I now understand that, God gave me this chance, and this is it. I got a second, last chance, or whatever you call it, but I don't have another chance. I'm not going to lose this weight again. So I stay geared and connected to OA, no matter what. I've moved several times since. Obviously, a lot of places I think they don't do it right, but I won't let that get in the way of I've got to stay connected to OA. Because if I don't stay connected, I'm sure I'll go backwards. And I was thinking today about what I might say that would be useful. I've been, of course, I lost the weight again. This time much slower because I was in my 50s. About 3 years to lose the weight, coming back. And I've been at goal weight now over 15 years. And I actually have lost weight a little bit since I got at goal weight. When I came back, listen to this. When I came back, it was my high school class was going to have their 40th reunion. And so it was 2001. I graduated in 1961. They were getting ready to have their 40th reunion. So my idea in my head, this is the way I thought. My idea in my head was, well, if I go to OA, I'll lose this weight. I'll look pretty good in August when they have the reunion. Well, I never did get to that reunion, and obviously I wasn't going to lose that weight that quickly. But I did, in fact, get to my 50th reunion, and so that, and I've gone ever since then when I'm at normal weight. But today I was thinking about what I might say that might help somebody, and I'm thinking in terms of level of consciousness. When I first came to OA, the first go-around, my idea was that my problem was the weight. And so I went on the gray sheet and lost weight. I thought, I've solved the problem. And then at some point when I came to OA, at the first, they gave me the idea, well, the problem isn't just the weight, the problem's the food. So I shifted from weight to food, but I still didn't make the critical third shift that I have since made since coming back in 2001. I got on my hands and knees in 2001. And I said, God, You let me out of this. I lost the weight once. You gave me this gift once. And I said, I will do anything, anything. And I absolutely meant it. I will do anything if you give me just one more chance. And I had no idea. I thought I'd get, 20, 30, maybe 40 pounds off and look a little bit better than I did at over 200. At that point, I could only buy pants at Walmart. It's the only place I could find any pants that would fit me. So I wanted to get some of that off, and I had no idea that, yes, I could have the gift back. I could have the whole thing. And I would end up weighing less than I did the day I graduated from high school. It's an absolute miracle. I actually weigh less now today than I did when I graduated from high school. And that shows you that I had a problem. I ate crazy as a kid. I started, using food to solve my emotional problems when I was a kid. I'd come home from school. I remember distinctly coming home from school. If I had a bad day, the first place I went was the refrigerator. I knew how to use food to control my emotions. When I came back in 2001, I became convinced that the problem was in my head and that I had to change me and my ideas and my thought processes. And that meant I had to work these 12 steps, not as I think they're written, but as they're actually written. And that required me to grow up a lot. Two things. I was growing down in size and becoming right-sized. My ego kept shrinking, and that was a good thing. But at the same time, I was facing things that I needed to face a long, long time ago. And, when you go back and you actually do a face-to-face with someone that you've sexually abused, that's not child's work. You have to be a real man when you walk in there and you take that responsibility and you want to do that. That's grown-up work. And that's what is required of me to get what I have today, which is this comfortable abstinence. I mean, my weight is so stable. I weigh around 135 pounds. Consider that I came back over 200. So I tell people what you see in front of you plus half again as much is what I weighed, and that's about right. About another half of me is the me that used to be. I don't want that half back. I want this part right here. But in the process of getting there to get comfortable, I had to do the work. And I have to continue to do the work. In other words, I have to get up every morning. I start every morning with Kay Shepherd's book. My sponsor happens to be he follows her food plan. I don't do that. I don't follow Kay Shepherd's food plan, but I do really like her ideas. And I steal ideas from wherever I get them. I've never had an original idea. These are all things that, everything I'm saying tonight is something that was taught to me. And I'm glad it was taught to me because I needed to learn to get where I am today. I just celebrated my 77th birthday in October. And in my food plan, as I allow myself to have a dessert, both on my belly button birthday and on my AA birthday. I think those are two special occasions, only come once a year. But I'm so comfortable today in my skin that I don't even think it's necessary. Sometimes I skip that altogether. I don't need anything to celebrate my birthday. It's wonderful. I don't need food to do that. I can celebrate feeling good about me and having a belly button birthday or having my program birthday, my AA birthday, and I don't need food to do that. It didn't happen overnight. I've been at this. I've been back almost 20 years, and I've been, really following food plan. Now I went back and looked. It's interesting. I went back and looked, and I found a note that during the first 19 months that I was back in program, I did everything. I had so much weight to lose, I couldn't fail. You got tons of weight to lose. You just clean up your act a little bit. I knew not to eat ice cream. I knew what I shouldn't eat, and I knew that I needed to eat some vegetables. And so I just cleaned up a little bit, and it was amazing, how quickly I could lose weight. Then when I got, I think it was November of '02. I've been back about a year and a half. I decided to start using a food book and write down my food each day. Now today, I actually weigh myself every day because I've been at goal long enough. I want to stay at goal, so I just use that. I weigh myself every day, and that allows me to realize I'm still on track and not get off track. It's a great blessing. I think I know less and less and less about why some people recover and some people don't. I think some men come, and I cannot begin to tell you, and I can sit and think of the hundreds of men I've worked with over the years, and I've tried every different approach with guys. I've taken guys, newcomers. I've taken them to shop. I said, well, let's go to the grocery store and let me show you some food. Amazing. And one guy I knew he didn't have much in the way of resources, so I actually bought him some stuff. I thought, well, I'm going to get him started, And I remember I bought him some lentils. Now lentils, I love lentils because they're a wonderful thing. You can cook them in no time flat. And they're great. The beans, any of the bean family, they're great for weight maintaining and weight loss. And anyway, long story short, the guy just could not see. He couldn't go out in the backyard and exercise. He couldn't do any of this stuff. Just couldn't do it. And he ended up giving the lentils to his dog. He told me that he gave the lentils to his dog. But I don't give up. I keep at this. I think some people come to OA. Some of the people come in the door, and they're actually so damaged by their diet, by their junk food diet, that they cannot grasp what we have to sell. They just can't grasp it. I was lucky when I came in the first time because I was still young enough that I got it, and then the second time I knew where to come back to. If I hadn't known where to come back to, I might not have come back, but I knew that I had to do that. I come back to OA. But I'm convinced that some guys we can't help them. We can't touch them. I think if we could just, if I could put them in a locked up place and get them clean for 30 days, maybe we could clean them out enough that they could grasp what we're trying to do. I'm not sure. I always say we have the highest dropout rate in the world. More than I go sometimes to a Trappist monastery, and they, not too many people that come there to be monks end up staying there to be monks. But we have a higher dropout rate than that. I heard an OA talk one time, and the guy said, we come by the hundreds and stay by the ones and twos. And that's about right. About 1 or 2 out of 100 end up staying here. So if you're sitting in your seat tonight and you're an OA and you're convinced you belong here, you're in very blessed company, because not so many, there's a whole bunch of guys that for some reason or other said, this is not for me, And I'm convinced I'm alive today because of OA. I would not be here today. I would have had that heart attack or stroke, and I've been gone. And then people say, I remember that guy. He's a little chubby, but he's a nice guy. Well, they don't remember me that way now. In fact, today when I go places, sometimes people they didn't know me as a heavy man. They never knew me heavy. And it's funny because that's why I have to come to OA, because I can't talk about this to other people. They say, what the hell are you talking about? You're thin. What is this you're talking about, the weight loss? So anyway, I come to OA because I need OA. And particularly, I need newcomers. I need to see how confused they are, how little they know about nutrition, about food. I need to hear that, and I need to understand that's the disease. And but for the grace of a loving God, I would be right there. God was very graceful to give me the OA recovery once, and then he was beyond my wildest imagination grateful to give it to me twice. But I don't play any games. I figure this is my last chance, Now, I also have this concept, and I tell people this a lot of times. When you look at me, you see a guy that's carrying around a lot of empty fat cells. I finally come to understand that when I lose the weight, the body it empties out the fat cells, but it doesn't destroy the cells. That's why it's so easy to gain weight back, because we still have the cells. Our body went through all that trouble to make the cells, and it's not going to throw them away. It just empties them out. So I carry around the medal, and I have it as a kind of a badge of it's like my badge of honor or badge of whatever. But you can see if I take my shirt off, you can see I used to be real heavy. I've got the stretch marks, and I've got those there, and that's okay. I want to when I do that, I want to remember that I can fill those fat cells up in a heartbeat if I lose control and let the food take over again. So I have a wonderful sponsor. He lives in Chattanooga, Tennessee. He follows a food plan that's stricter than mine and tougher than mine. I couldn't follow his food plan, but I love him to death, and I can call him anytime I need him, and I'm blessed by this program. So that's enough for me. I have no secret answers other than work, particularly work with the steps, read the steps, work the steps, and then live the steps. Thank you. And thanks, Al, for asking me to speak. I know a lot less now than I did when you asked me 6 or 7 years ago. Anyway, thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Jake.